Inspire your child at any level, at any age level, to do their best. See, I got Chris. He was in a bad shape, you guys. I mean, he was into drugs. He had the jeans down to here. His skin was that real white skin because he'd been on drugs, and he had scratches all over his arms, and he was just a mess when he came to live with me. And so it came time for the school, you have your parent-teacher conferences. And so that was one of the things on our list, that I would go to the parent-teacher conference. And here he was, 15 years of age, and no parent had ever gone to a parent-teacher conference with him. I don't know what my niece was doing. Actually, he missed 40 days that year he was in school till he came to live with me. And so, what the deal was, he was not connected with anybody. Children are born to be connected. They have to have a connectedness. They have to have relationships with people. So even though he lived with his mom, he was not connected with her. They did not have a relationship. And so I worked hard on building this relationship with this 15-year-old boy. And so I went to his first parent-teacher conference ever. He just couldn't believe it. He's like, have I done something wrong? It's, no, this is how you parent. This is what a parent does. A parent is involved in your life. A parent wants to know about you. Now, I know as single parents, you can't do everything. I know that. I could not do everything. There were concerts I didn't get to go to. There was track meets I didn't get to go to. There was debates when my son was in high school that I didn't get to go to. I just did the best I can. You can't berate yourself because you're not getting to do everything. Okay, spend time with your child the best you can. Build a relationship. After my children got into middle school, it seemed like we all went different ways in the morning, and the bus came at 6 o'clock for one of them, and then my daughter was in band and blah, 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 blah. And so in the evenings, we were like going all different directions. So the only time we really could get together was early in the morning. And they would just show up on my bed at 5:30 in the morning. We would watch the news or something while I'm getting ready. And so when, I don't know what age they were, but I decided I am not really seeing my children very much. I need to do something to connect with my kids, because it seems like we're all going different directions. Brian was in middle school, Julie was in high school, I was working. So I like to drink tea every morning, and I always like to have a quiet time. And when you're a single mom or a single dad and you work 12, 14 hours a day, which I did, you're just so tired all the time. So let me just give you a little tip. I would get up every morning, and I would get up early, like 4:30 in the morning. I'd go downstairs in the wintertime. We lived in Oklahoma. It was really cold, and I was trying to save on power, and so I'd turn the thermostat down real low at nighttime, and then I'd get up like 4:30 in the morning, turn the thermostat up, and I would go downstairs in my kitchen, and there was a vent on the floor, so I'd get me a cup of hot tea, and I'd get a blanket, and I'd wrap it around the vent, and then all that air would come up. It always felt so good, and I'd drink my tea, and I'd try to read my Bible. And sometimes I would read the same verse for several days in a row. And a lot of times I'd go to sleep. My kids would come down there, I'd be, my head on the floor, the blanket around me, I'm sound asleep. And that bothered me for years until I talked to a friend of mine in California, and she's an older lady, she's a wonderful lady, and she said to me, I said, I felt guilty for a long time because I was trying to spend time with the Lord. I was just so tired all the time. She said, what better place for you to sleep than in the arms of the Lord? He knew you were making an effort, and that's why he honored you. So I'm just passing that little tidbit of information on to you. Find a time, even if it's just 15 minutes. And there's a lot of apps you can get on your phone now that have devotions that can be sent to you. Just spend a little time with the Lord. You'll be amazed at how different you'll see your children and how it will help you. So anyway, I decided that we need to do something to connect with my kids. So I thought, I like tea and they like tea, so I went and I got custody of the china. So I went down and I got a teapot at Walmart. And so one morning, about 5 o'clock in the morning, I go, Brian, and I'm carrying this tray. I said, Brian, come into your sister's room. And he goes, Mom, it's dark. I know, just humor me. Okay, write that phrase down, just humor me. And you need to use that as a single parent all the time. Just humor me. I said, just humor me. Come into your sister's room. So Julie, get up. She goes, Mom, what are you doing? It's 5 o'clock. I want to sleep for 30 more minutes. I said, come on, we're going to have a tea party. She goes, you've lost your mind, haven't you, Mother? I said, no, I haven't lost my mind. We're going to have a tea party. And so this is my idea of the tea party is we would sit there and we would sip tea, and I would share, and they would share their innermost secrets with their mother. So I have the china cups and the china saucers, and they're sitting there, and Julie goes, I think we're supposed to drink with our finger out like this, Brian. Brian goes, we've never even been able to touch these before. And they're laughing, and I'm getting upset. And then it dawned on me, This is what you want. You want connection with your children. If they're laughing, laugh with them. Enjoy the moment. So we did this for a little while, and I said, well, we better get dressed now. And they go, Mom, when are we doing this again? They thought it was a great idea. These are teenagers, and they thought it was a great idea. So what happened down through the years, like when they would go have a track meet or have my daughter's in color guard, she'd say, Mom, let's have a tea party in the morning because I have this big event coming up. Or, Mom, let's have a tea party because I'm going to run a track. And my son didn't want his boyfriends to know, his male friends to know he was doing tea parties, but it was important for him, Mom, I'm going to take my SAT tomorrow. Let's have a tea party. And so that became the thing in our home that when something was going to happen, we would have a tea party. When my daughter was a senior in high school, she had a friend that she came on and she said, Mom, I found out this guy at my school is living in his car. And he comes and he takes a shower in the gym at school. And I can't stand that. See, my empathetic heart I had modeled that for her, and she was feeling that same thing. And she said, I just feel like we need to do something. So we invited him to come live in our home until I could get with the authorities and find a home to send him to. And so he came for 2 weeks, and we found somebody at our church that would take him. And so the night before, Julie goes, Mom, I think we should have a tea party for Lance in the morning. I go, Julie, he's a senior, he's like a football player, and you want to have a tea party? You know what she said to me? Mother, just humor me. See, they give back to you what you gave to them. I was like, well, okay, you want to do that, but if he makes fun of us. She said, it's fine, Mom. So the next morning, we get up early, and we have this tea party for Lance, and I thought, he's just going to think this is the most ridiculous thing ever, but he's going to think this is crazy family. He's never going to come back. So when the guys, we had our tea party, we laughed and everything, and so when the guys came to pick him up, wow, I'll never forget this. He's in the back seat. We're talking. I said, Lance, we really enjoyed having you here. And he taps the guy, the driver, and he goes, hey, you know what that woman did? She had a tea party for me. Nobody's ever taken the time to do anything like that for me. That meant a lot to him, and it meant even more to me that my daughter wanted to share that. She wanted to share what I had shared with her. Now, as all my grandchildren get teapots when they're a certain age, and we have a lot of tea parties, but my daughter she was deployed to Afghanistan 2 years ago. And when I was a single mom, I'd say, Julie, I want to come to track meet. I want to do this, but, I got to work. And one day I said, I promise you, when you have kids of your own, I'll be there for your kids. I promise you. So a couple of years ago, I get this phone call. She goes, Mother, do you remember that promise you made to me to always be there for my kids? I was like, yeah, what? She goes, I'm being deployed to Afghanistan, and I need you. So my husband and I sold everything. He was able to transfer his job. We were in North Carolina. We moved to Florida, and I moved into her home. And I have a 3-year-old grandson, 8-year-old, and a 13-year-old, preschool, elementary, and middle school. And so I moved into their home, and my husband and her husband's Air Force, my son-in-law. And so I became the caregiver for my 3 grandchildren. And I employed all these things that I learned with my own children. But the big thing was we had to have tea parties before Mom left. My little grandchildren wanted to have tea parties with their mother before she left. That was a point of connection with them. So whatever you're doing, create some kind of ritual. In the Bible, they had rituals. So create rituals for your children. These are your children. My grandchildren became my people. They became my people while my daughter was gone. Okay, very quickly. Praise good behavior, but be descriptive in your praise, because some little kids can't take praise. Did you know that? Don't use the word good boy, good job. They can't handle that. And they're going to set out to prove you wrong, especially if you have a child that's a challenge behavior child, a child that's been diagnosed ADHD. And let me just say this. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. I can't diagnose people. But I think there are way too many children of divorce placed on medications that do not need to be on medications. Because children of divorce will mimic the same symptoms as an ADHD child. Would you agree with me? You're a therapist, yeah? They mimic the same symptoms. And really what they need is deep connections. And if your child is ADHD or ODD or RAD or any of those Ds, and they are put on medication, then you need to get help parenting. You need to take some courses to help you parent that ADHD child or that ODD child. Because many times it's how we parent, and the child is under stress, and we don't know how to deal with that child. So that's just free for you anyway. So you use descriptive, like, wow, look at you. You made your bed today. And if you have to add a tag, you go, that was helpful. Because you say, good job, That's your judgment on the child. And they don't need your judgment. They need connectedness and they need your approval, not your judgment. How many of you say, good boy, good girl, good job? No, you're not going to raise your hand, are you? All right. Okay, some of you admit that. Stop and think about that a minute. Next time you find yourself thinking that, take a step back, take time, and describe what they did. Look at you. Look at that. There were dishes all over the counter, and you put them in the dishwasher. Whoa, that was helpful. Thank you. Do you see the difference? Instead of, good job, you put the dishes away. What does that mean? That's not descriptive. Something else that single parents don't realize is, do not use bribes. I am very against the point system. I'm very against what a lot of schools do. How many of you have the red light, green light in your schools down here? I am very opposed to rewarding children. Let me give you an example. My friend has a 8-year-old. And so they're getting ready to go to church one day, and she said, Brianna, you got your Bible? Brianna said, yeah, I got my Bible. I get stickers. When I get my Bible, I get stickers. So my friend was going like, Kanisha was going like, well, why do you take your Bible? She said, I want to find out why what was behind the thought. And she said, why do you take your Bible? And Brianna goes, because I get a sticker. I told you, I get a sticker. Well, what do you do with your Bible when you get to church? Well, I show my teacher, and I get a sticker. She's like, well, do you use your Bible? Do you look up scriptures? Mom, I told you, I take my Bible to get a scripture, to get a sticker. Now, what did it mean to her to take her Bible to church? Nothing. It just meant she got a sticker. She said, do you ever open your Bible? She said, nah, just lay it down, leave it there. So think about, and I know therapists, I know school teachers, I know everybody is into reward systems, but I'm telling you, it does not work. God does not put us on a point system, because I'm telling you, if he put me on his point system, there'd be days I'd be sunk by noon. And I worked with a lot of adult children of divorce, and I had one lady goes, you know what? I was really out of control, and my school had red light, green light, and if I got a red light on Monday, I thought, well, why should I behave the rest of the week? I'm already done. And that's true. That's true. So instead of putting them on stickers, what we want to do is help the child feel good about what it is they're doing. And we want them to do the job because it feels good to do the job, not because they're going to get a reward or treat. Now, there's a difference when somebody does something and you celebrate their accomplishments. But save the celebration for the biggies. Save the celebration for the big things. Because if you start celebrating every little teeny tiny thing they do, it doesn't mean anything. It's like now, if you're on a soccer team, everybody gets a trophy. And every soccer team gets a trophy. What does it mean? Nothing. It doesn't mean anything. So, save your celebrations for the biggies. And I'm talking about the biggies, like when you maybe go from elementary school to middle school, middle school to senior high. Maybe you are the top speller in your class and graduating from high school. Those are the biggies. You celebrate those. Think of a single parent that you all know that's successful. Just take a second to think about a single parent that's successful. Do you know any successful single parents? All right. Tell me what makes them successful. Hello?
They know how to connect to resources, or whether it's the church or the community.
Okay.
They know how to get help.
Somebody else, you know, that's a single parent. What do they do that makes them a good single parent, successful single parent?
Spend a lot of time in prayer and Bible study.
All right. What about you guys? You know somebody that's a successful single parent? Maybe one of you at your table is a successful single parent. Always participate in their child's life? What? Do what?
Structure.
Okay, structure. All right.
Stability. Yeah.
Stability.
Put the children first.
Put the children first. When they failed, they were honest with their children, right? Put the children first is really important, except I'm going to put a little disclaimer for that. If your child, pardon me?
Not before God.
Not before God and not before yourself. See, we've raised an I generation. We raised a me generation. Me, 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 me. Sometimes, as a single mom, you got to put yourself up and say, I can't do this. I'm tired. I need to rest. No, you do not run yourself down to your children, or you're raising a me generation. And God God doesn't raise, he doesn't want a me generation. It's not all about me, 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 me. When you raise these children's self-esteem too high, you are not being fair to them in their relationship to the Lord. This relationship to the Lord should come first above everything else. Does that make sense to you? All right. What about over here? What makes a healthy single parent? Anybody? Let's get a guy's point of view. What makes a healthy single parent?
Spend a lot of time with your kids.
Spend a lot of time with the kids. What
I
about?
would say spend time no matter what it takes. Like if I have them help me make dinner, it takes longer and it's more mess, but we're spending time together.
Right.
Them watching TV while I do it.
Right, right. And connecting with them. And have a meal time. You know, one of the greatest predictors of a juvenile delinquent is not having meal times with your children. Have a meal time with your, I don't care if it's a breakfast or what, but you need to have at least one meal time where there are no interruptions. That means no TV, no cell phone, no phone calls on your part, and you're not sitting there texting. That means you connect with your children. I was at the beach not too long ago, and this mom brings her little, looks like he was about 5 years old, cute little kid. And she leans up against a chair, and she's like, oh, he was over there. She goes over here. And he's like, Mom, look at me. And she's like, Mom. Mm-hmm. Oh, there he is over there. She lost him at one point. She didn't even know where he was because her eye was all focused right here. And this kid is screaming. His behavior is screaming. And not only was his behavior, he was screaming, Mom, look at me. He actually got into the middle of a volleyball game that some adults were playing, and she never even saw it. He wanted her attention, but she couldn't give it to him because she was so busy. She let her people go. She didn't know what her people were doing. All right, moving on. Comments or questions? You guys are quiet.
It sounds from a comment you made earlier that you're critical of this behaviorist approach, where the points and the stars, it sounds like you're critical of that.
I am critical of that.
Because that's what you see in the group homes, where the child does not have a mom and dad, does not have adequate authority.
Called behavior modification,
Right.
and it doesn't work long term.
I agree with you.
It only works in the moment. Behavior modification only works in the moment. And you don't want to do something in the moment. You want to do them because you're raising this child. You're raising this child to have respect. Hopefully, well, actually, what do you want out of your child? And I was going to do this later, but very quickly. What do you want for your child? Have you sat down to write down what you want for your child? When I first became pregnant, my prayer was so pathetic. I was like, okay, God, don't let Julie get pregnant when she's 15, and don't let Brian get into drugs and have them both to graduate from high school. That was my prayer, because I bought into all the hype about children from single-parent homes. And it dawned on me, if that's my expectations, that as high an expectation as I can have, that's what's going to happen to my kids. I had to change my mindset about what I wanted for them. I wanted them to grow up and be healthy, functioning adults who loved the Lord, who would be good parents, who loved their children, who would love their job, who would work hard. And that doesn't happen when they're 19 or 20. It has to start early on. And so think about your goals for your children. Like one of my goals for my children, both of my kids turned 18 the summer before they became a senior in high school. So one of my goals was when they turned 18, they would no longer have a curfew. So you think I was crazy to do that? See, when you turn 18, you can move out of your parents' house. Legally, you can move out. And many children turn 18, and all of a sudden they're out on their own, and they don't have any skills. They have no life-living skills that they can handle. So when my kids turned 18, they no longer had a curfew. But I didn't just wait until they were 18 and say, okay, you don't have a curfew. When they were 16, I said, we're going to start working toward the fact that when you turn 18, you don't have to have a curfew. And then we started working toward that. So when my son turned 18, I said, okay, now remember, you don't have a curfew. However, I would appreciate it that you would let me know where you're going to go and approximately what time you're going to be home, because I worry about you. Even though you're 18 and you're driving, I worry about you. So one night, I get a call, and he goes, Mom, I went on a blind date with Billy, and we lived in what's called Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, and then there's Tulsa, and then there's Sapulpa, Oklahoma on the other side. Okay, he goes, well, Billy got me a blind date, and this girl lives in Sapulpa, and so we're taking her home, and I'm going to be late. And I was like, okay, Brian, but you don't know where Sepulpa is. He goes, it's okay. Billy's directing me. I was like, oh, Billy doesn't know where Sepulpa is either. It's like, okay, son, well, keep me informed now, okay? And he said, well, I should be home about midnight. So at midnight, Billy's mother calls me. She goes, where are they? I can't find them. I'm going to kill Billy. And I was like, okay, I know what happened. They were getting ready to come home, and they got on the turnpike, and they went to Oklahoma City instead of coming to Tulsa. My son is directionally challenged. I'm sure that's what happened. So another hour goes by, and she calls me. She goes, where are they? Where are they? I was like, I'm sure they're probably about to the middle of the turnpike and turning around to come back home right about now. And 2 o'clock in the morning, we're still talking, and she goes, I hear him. I go, okay, now, Alicia, just be calm. You can address this issue in the morning. Just be glad he's home. And, of course, whenever he walked in the door, she starts screaming, where have you been? And I was going, be calm. And she's yelling, and she hangs up the phone at some point. So then my son comes home. This is a different scene. I'm sitting on the couch. He comes in and goes, Mom, what are you doing up? Why are you up so late? Do you see the difference? He's concerned about me. Billy was not concerned about his mother, and she's over there screaming at him. I was like, well, son, I was worried about you. He goes, well, I called. I said, yeah, you called 3 hours ago. What happened? He said, well, Billy told me to go one way, and guess what they did? We got on the turnpike going to Oklahoma City instead of, and then I ran out of gasoline and blah, 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 blah. And so I said, well, let's get to bed right now. We'll talk about this in the morning. So next morning we get up and we go, Brian, I have to have a consequence for this. He goes, why? Mom, I called you. I said, yes, you called me, but you didn't plan enough in advance. And I have to go out and work today. Saturday, I've got a training to do, and I'm tired because I stayed up late waiting for you last night. So you have a choice. You can either be grounded for 2 weeks, or you can do community service at my child care center for 40 hours. See, I'm giving him a choice. He chose to do community service. Oh my gosh, here was this big strapping 6-foot kid sitting in these little bitty chairs talking to kids, cutting out flannel board stories, but he did it for 40 hours. So do you see? That was respectful to him. So then he could follow the rules and tell me Billy was off the charts. I mean, she never had a calm moment with him. So that's the difference. Plan what you want. Figure out what you want, set a goal, and then work toward those goals. Now, one thing children from single-parent homes need are boundaries, and I think this is in your handout. So think about this for a little bit. Let's say it's late in the evening, and you need to go somewhere. And you guys have small country roads around here. I don't know Knoxville that well, okay? And curvy roads, and okay. So let's say you've got to go somewhere. There's 2 choices. So you take this one road. This road is a country road. It's dark. There are no lights on the road. And parts of the road doesn't even have the middle stripe going down it, so you don't know if you're on the right side or the left side. And there's no curve. There's signs saying 25 miles an hour for a curve. There's no speed limit signs. You've never been on this road before. You don't know what's coming up. And you go up on a high hill, and there's no barriers. And if you just swerve the wrong way, you'll go down the cliff. And so you get through this country road, and it's pouring down rain, and you're nervous, and then you get to the city where you're going. There's no stop signs. There's no street lights. There's no street. You can't see anything. Do you understand what you're on this country road just trying to survive, and there's no boundaries. The other road you could have chosen to take, has the yellow stripe, the white stripe down the middle, so you always know if you're on the right side of the road. It's got speed limit signs. It's pouring down rain, but the signs are the magnetic signs, or what do you call it? The speed limit sign pops out there when you see it. There's barriers along here, so that you know if you swerve, you're going to stop here. There's a curve coming up, and it tells you to slow down to 25 miles an hour. When you get to the town that you're going to, there's a stoplight, and there's a sign that said there's a stoplight ahead. Which road do you want to be on? The well-marked, the road that has boundaries. Why would you want to be on that road? Why do you want to be on the road that has boundaries? It's safer. And you know where you're going. And you know what's up. That's the same thing for children. They need boundaries. Because that boundaries give them security. Boundaries lets them know where they're going. And if you want to know how to set boundaries, you write out a sentence. When you blank, this is what happens. So, when you eat all the ding-dongs on Saturday morning, there will be no sweet snacks for your lunch or whatever it is. You let them know in advance what the boundaries are. Boundaries are very important for children. If you look on your handout, We have a lot of adults in our world today that were not raised with boundaries. And if you see that list of boundaries there on your handout, you should.
I'm on the next page.
Right. Yeah, on the back side of there, I don't think we had, yeah, page 2. You see all that list of boundaries? We have a lot of adults today that have no boundaries, and you might be one of them, I don't know, or maybe you were married to one of them, or maybe you were in a relationship with somebody that didn't have boundaries. But a group of people, Dr. Stephen Cloud, and I can't think of the names in their way, they discovered that people that didn't have boundaries growing up are the reason people have problems as adults today. So look at that list of boundaries, and you may even see the boundaries on there that you don't have that you need to, on the other side. Well, let me see. Have you all found it on your handout?
It's on page 4, I think.
Yeah, okay, there it is, page 4. Sorry. Thank you. So, there are adults that have the inability to say no to hurtful people and set limits. Maybe that's you. You have an inability to say no to your own destructive impulses. So later on, look at that and see if those are any of your lack of boundaries, and then you can start working on your own self and the boundaries that you have. And you can do that through the Word. And if not, you can buy the book Boundaries that they wrote. You can go online and order it. You can get it from Amazon pretty cheap if you buy a used copy. So when people are adults with character traits, what you need to do is decide what you want for your child and what kind of character traits you want them to possess. And then I made 6 slots there, and if we were in a small group and like we were on Sunday morning for a Bible study, I'd take a few minutes and I'd ask you to fill that out and then share. So we don't have all that time today, but just quickly, somebody tell me what you want for your child. What's your goal? What would you put down there? When they're adults, what character traits and qualities do you want your child to possess? Somebody just share with me. Real loud. Okay. Balance, stability. Be assertive. Okay. Real loud. Accountable. Responsible. Do you want them to know how to handle money? You want your kids to know how to handle money, not live off credit cards? You got to start right now. You got to make up a budget and help them to see what your budget is. I wanted my children to do that. My son-in-law said to me one time, "Wow, your daughter's awesome. We have an incredible savings account. I was never taught how to budget money, but she knows." I said, "Do you know how she knows?" Because when they were teenagers and they were using so much electricity and they would never turn anything out, I took them outside and I made them watch the little thing that goes around and around and around and around. And I said, every time you have something on in the house, this goes around faster and faster, and it's more and more money. So you might as well be throwing the pennies down the toilet, because when you leave all the lights on, you leave all the computers on, and you leave the TVs on, you're using the money, you're using the electricity. And they had no idea. We set a food budget, and when they were teenagers, they could take turns. So one week, my daughter would go shopping, and the next week, my son would go shopping. See, single parents, we do too much stuff on our own. You need to bring the kids in to do these things. And there's a scripture in the Bible that says, those who don't work don't eat. I quoted that to my kids a lot. So the reward, you might say, or the celebration of this is when you went shopping, it was your week to shop, I gave them so much money. If you bought everything that we needed to live off of and we had a menu and there was money left over, you could buy anything for yourself that you wanted, and you didn't have to share it with anybody else. So if you wanted a piece of chocolate cake and there was money left over, you could buy that and eat that. My son loved meat. We could never afford much meat. So he would really work, and he would cut out coupons. And he would buy, I mean, it was an incredible shopper, and he would cut the coupons out, and a certain day he'd go to the store, and he would buy himself a steak or a lobster. That he saved so much money on our food bill, but he could have those things for himself to eat. He's incredible with his money now as an adult. So these kids they don't just wake up one day at 20 years old and know how to do the laundry and know how to cook and know how to budget and know how to work without using a credit card. They don't know that. You have to teach them as you go along. So what's something else you want your adult child, for your child when they become adults? Independence?
Know how to choose a good mate.
All right. Do you want them to marry the right person?
I was going to say how to communicate and listen. How to communicate and listen.
Communicate and listen. Exactly. So,
I'm 33 and I'm just learning how to listen.
you know the best way to teach your child to listen? You listen to them. Yeah. Okay? Right. Right. That's a good one because many women are codependent. Well, men now too. So you have to start working with that right now so they understand what that is. What else do you want for your kids? Good for you. And how are you going to teach that? Even though my children saw me in the morning plastered against the wall, then I was supposed to be praying. As adults, they will call me, Mom, I got a friend such and such, pray for her. And I one day I said, Julie, pray for me, I've got to do something. She goes, Mother, I pray for you every day. So even when she was in Afghanistan, she would call me from Afghanistan, Mom, this is what happened to my roommate, blah, 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 blah. I told her she needs to talk to you. Will you pray? A big compliment to me when my daughter was a senior in high school. She came home and she said, Mom, there's a girl in my class that she needs to talk to you. I said, why? And I don't even know this girl. And she said, well, because she's pregnant and she can't talk to her own mom. And I told her, I can tell my mom anything. That was a real compliment to me. And I told her, she can come talk to you. And I said, and you know what I'm going to tell her. She said, yeah, you're going to tell her to talk to her mom, but she needs somebody that she can talk to and practice and know how to tell her mom. She just wants your help. So that's what I wanted for my children. I want them to know they could come to me at any time and tell me anything, and they weren't going to be in trouble about it. We would discuss it. Does that make sense? All right, somebody else. What do you want for your children when they become adults? Your daughter. Okay. Be godly. All right, you got to start. So you've got to stop now. You've got to go back to the 23rd Psalm and remember that you are the shepherd of your child. And you've got to shepherd your children. I want to get finished, so if we have time, you want to ask questions, we can do that. Let me just whip along here. I think it's on your next page. Yes. Parenting Forward down there. I have to tell you, you will reach your parenting journey at some point when your children become adults. My children are middle-aged adults now. I'm old. I'm very old, so I don't feel old, but I am, and I have grandchildren. I have a grandchild that's in college right now. So look at Proverbs 25:11. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in a silver setting. I know you're under stress. I realize that. And I messed up so many times. I have a story where what I said was not like words spoken in apples of gold in a silver setting. I had a really bad day. I got up really early one time. My cook called in sick at my childcare, so I had to go in. And before the childcare opened, I had to cook breakfast. And then there was no milk, and because we'd run out of milk. And it was just all day. And one of the teachers called in sick, and I had to go in the room. So I started like early in the morning, and it was like 6:30 at night. We closed at 6, and I had to do a bunch of stuff. And so I come home, and I'm totally exhausted. And I said to the kids, did you get your homework done? I called and said I was going to be late. Yeah, did you get supper started? Yeah. Well, I was supposed to do the laundry. Everything in our house broke down. It just seemed like there always had something broken. I didn't have the money to fix things. So my dryer broke. And my son figured out, if we took this steel bat, the door broke. If we took this steel back and we wedged it in the bat in there just so the door would stay closed and we could dry our clothes. Right? And I had no money to fix things. So that night I put the clothes in the dryer and I put that steel bat in there and I sat back and the bat fell. So I have a deep breath and I put that bat and I stick it in there and I turn it on and okay, that's good. And I step back and the bat fell. Picked that bat up and I stuck it in there even harder. This was just more than I can handle. It was like the end of my day. I couldn't handle this. And so I turned it on. So, okay, it's going to work. And the minute my foot hit the kitchen, that bat fell out. It just went all over me. And I picked up that bat and I beat that dryer to shreds. Oh, wham, I'm beating that dryer. And of course, it's a steel bat in the dryer, and it's making all this noise, and my kids come running in there, and they go, Mom. I was like, I just had it to do, And my daughter goes, Brian, get back. Better the dryer than us. Better the dryer than us. And they both start laughing. We're safe. Just let her go. They started laughing. I started laughing. Humor. But I had to apologize to my kids because I lost it. We all lose it from time to time. So that was not a word fitly spoken in like apples of gold in a silver setting. Good discipline means communication with your child. We assume our children understand our perceptions. We don't express ourselves in positive terms. We compete with other distractions. Don't ever talk to your child, a teenage child, especially if they're watching a TV show, if they're on a computer game, or if they're texting. Put it down. I used to go stand in front of the TV. Excuse me, I need your attention. Stand right in front of the TV. Because you're competing. Take the competition away. Don't ask incriminating questions. Okay, this is a big one, you guys. You never ask a child a question you know the answer to. Let me repeat that. You never ask a child a question you know the answer to. Why? You're teaching the child a lie. And you're undoing your relationship. Okay, they're fighting. They're sisters. I see her hit her. I go, did you hit your sister? Did you hit? They're going to say no every time. Did you hit your sister? You don't ask them the question. You find cigarettes in the purse. You go, are you smoking? Are these yours? No, never seen them before in my life. You're teaching them to lie. So you never ask them the question you know the answer to. It would be better to say, whoa, okay, what's going on here? You just hit your sister. What is going on here? Always be truthful with your children. And think about that for a little bit, because we're really good at parents at doing that. And we're setting our kid up to lie. And then don't ask them incriminating questions, but ask questions so you're going to get the information from them. Don't judge or criticize their feelings. It's their feelings. Their feelings. And their perception is their perception. So you say, your daughter goes, I want some ice cream. And you go, well, I don't have any money for ice cream right now. And then later on, I've actually had this happen in DC4K. DivorceCare for Kids is a program I wrote. It's a 13-week video-based program for children. It's an incredible program. I run it in a bunch of churches. And so this is one of the stories that we use. And this little girl said to me, well, I asked my mom for some ice cream, and she said we didn't have any money, but I saw that we had money. She's lying to me. That's her perception. Her perception is not wrong because it's her perception. So what happened was, I said, well, maybe your mom meant she didn't have any money for ice cream, but she had money to buy gasoline with. And she goes, oh, I never thought of that. See, all she knew was the mom said she had money, and she had seen the money in her purse. So be careful that you don't judge their perceptions, because it's their perceptions. 2 Thessalonians 3:10, for even when we were with you, we gave this rule, if a man shall not work, he shall not eat. Children need to contribute to your environment. They need to contribute to the environment so they feel like they belong. If you have a home where you do all the work, single moms are bad about this, and your children do not, you need to turn that around. Single dads, okay, don't get mad, single moms, but the difference between working with a single mom and a single dads are usually more organized, and they're not as emotionally. See, us single moms, God designed us to be emotional. We let those kids play on our emotions. Single dads do not do that. Now, I'm not saying their house is all clean, but they're more organized. And usually their kids have their clothes set out the night before. They do better getting their homework done. That's just how God created men and women. That's a different brain. So single moms, you're going to have to be careful how you set your child up and work with her and make them work for you. There were times I could be sitting on the couch reading and my kids were working because I got my jobs done. And they still had to do their jobs. But as adults now, my children are so respectful of me. They would do anything for me. They are so respectful of me because you feel like you belong when you contribute. And in DC4K, when we run that, we have jobs kids sign up for. You clean up the table, you're the snack helper, and the kids who sign up for the jobs just feel better about themselves. I had a therapeutic child care. I had my own counselor. We had jobs in our program, and you could sign up for a job, and we paid you for the job. We didn't pay you money. We gave you money on a ledger. Every child had their own account. And then we had a country store with snacks, and you could go and buy different things from the country store. And one man came in one night, and he goes, I need to talk to you outside. I was like, whoa, okay. So we go outside and he goes, I'm really upset. I pay you to take care of my child, and I come every night and she's working. She's doing your job. I go, oh, I guess you didn't read the contract that she signed. He goes, contract? So I took him, I said, see this board? These are all the jobs we have, and your daughter is signing up to do these jobs because she wants to contribute. And his daughter came up and he said, you're working here? You don't even mop the floor at home, and you're doing it here? She goes, yeah, Dad, it makes me feel good. He goes, I give you money to buy treats. She goes, oh, I saved your money. I'm working myself. made her feel good inside her body, under her skin, to contribute to our environment and for us to have a cleaner, healthier environment for her. So if you're a single mom and your kids are not working at home, you need to change that. Start slow. Don't go in tonight and say, we'll get to a conference and this is what we're going to do. Start slow. They're like, okay, she's gone to another conference. If we just wait for a while, she'll forget it and we'll be back to where we are. Okay? I promise you that's how kids think. Start out slow. Okay, got to wind this up. I was going to talk about consequences, but you all can read that. You can Google it if you want to, research it. 2 Timothy 4:17, but the Lord stood at my side and he gave me strength. You are the adult. You are the shepherd to your children. You are the one in control in your home. You and God can be in control in your home. Say to your child, I'm going to have to pray about this a little bit. There's nothing wrong with saying, I have to pray about this. I don't know if we can buy those tennis shoes that you want. I'm going to have to pray about this for a little bit. And you go back and go, well, what are you going to do to contribute to us buying the tennis shoes? So that they have a part of that. If you give, you're not helping your child and you're not going to be raising a healthy adult either. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. John 10:27. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. Your children are your sheep. You're their shepherd. They have to know your voice. Do you know a sheep knows its shepherd's voice? No matter where they are, the sheep knows their shepherd's voice. And if a little lamb breaks their leg, have you ever seen the pictures with the shepherd and they're carrying the sheep up here on their shoulders? They do that because when a little lamb breaks their leg, they went off the path or whatever, then the shepherd puts the sheep up on their shoulders so the sheep can feel the shepherd's heartbeat. The sheep will always then know their shepherd. Have you pulled your child in? Does your child know your heartbeat? Do you know your child's heartbeat? Do you really know when your child rises, when they sit? Do you know their thoughts from afar? I do now. I do. It took me a long time to get there. I still have a connection with my great-nephew in Oklahoma City. We still communicate. Last Sunday was his birthday. And he always saying to me, thank you, Aunt Linda. Thank you for helping me. I know him probably better than his mother knows him, who lived with him for 15, 16 years. And he only lived with me for 6 months. But I brought him in, and I more or less wrapped him around my shoulder so he could feel my heartbeat. Okay, I'm opening the floor for questions. Is this helpful?
Yes.
What was the most helpful thing? We have about 8 minutes. Tell me what.
Well, the shepherd metaphor.
Shepherd metaphor.
Oh, everything that you're saying flows from the shepherd.
Okay. Somebody at this table, what was the most helpful? Getting to sleep?
No, I appreciate you talking about the ADHD.
ADHD? All right. What was the most helpful from this table?
I would say the metaphor that you used in this section.
All right. What was the most helpful at this table? Y'all were so engaged. Thank you.
Setting healthy boundaries.
Setting healthy boundaries. Anybody else? What was the most helpful at this table? Making contributions. This table?
The Tea Party story.
Tea party? Okay. This table, what was the most helpful?
For them not becoming codependent.
Okay, good one. What was the most helpful at this table? There's two of you. You're on the line.
I like the setting healthy boundaries.
Okay. This table? Hearing that men were good single parents. That was it, wasn't it? No, what at this table? What was the most helpful? Anything?
Discipline, the actual definition of discipline.
Oh, the definition of discipline. Okay. What was the most helpful from this
I
table?
like your personal life examples.
Okay. 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 All right. Thank you. And I'm free to talk afterwards if you want to.